Din, din, din. Whoa, she is ready.
Yes.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome to another episode of
We're Just Haters with podcast.
We're Just Haters with Theater podcast.
We've been away for a while, traveling, doing the things, but we're back
with another episode from another show.
What? We're seeing a different show. That's crazy. It's the first roll court
Yeah, we
show?
haven't done a roll court.
It's the first roll court show. So roll court, welcome. We watched Brace by Oli Forsyth.
And the director is Daniel Raggett.
We went in blindly, as you're gonna hear in a minute. But hey.
Yeah, we didn't know anything. The only thing we knew is that brace means to hold yourself steady, and there was plane in the graphic, so obviously it has something to do with planes, and that was
it was the correct marketing, guys. So yeah, let's go to the past and listen to us yap about nothing.
Yeah, literally, because we didn't know anything, so we're just yapping about the real court. But okay,
hey, finish your crisp. Because sound quality is important, guys.
It is.
So today we are seeing Brace at the roll court.
Yes.
And Renata is jumping on my bandwagon because she just came back from homecoming, so had no time to look it up. So we both going blindly. I have no idea. Brace, flying? I don't know.
Who knows? And it's in the Jerwood Theater upstairs, which is not the main stage of the Royal Court. I've never seen a show in there. I've only seen shows in the main stage.
I've seen many a show there, but it's been a while. What's the last thing I've watched here? I don't even remember.
The last thing I saw here was Cowboys.
Right,
which was very good. Which was good. That was like in January.
I love, obviously, a roll court. Duh. I mean, there's nothing to say. The most important thing when you're writing, duh.
One of the best things that I saw here was 3 years ago now. I had to see it from my course called Rare Earth Metal. It was basically about environmentalism.
Was it the one set in
Bolivia?
Yes, I watched that.
Was it Bolivia? No. Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
It's okay.
And then I saw, it was like a ghost story and like different past, future, something. I can't even remember the name of it.
Yeah,
but anyway.
Yeah, I used to come to roll court like at least once every 2 weeks, it feels like, but I haven't been in a while. I don't know why. Maybe we kind of like got taken kind of astray by all these
other
big tickets.
Yeah.
Because I would never go to the West End, and now I'm there all the fucking time, and it's like very weird. So hopefully it's gonna be fun. It should be. We have nothing else to say.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we don't even know if it has an interval. If so, see you in the interval. If not, see you after the show.
Yeah,
wow,
exactly.
Look at us. So whimsical. Right, so it was us trying to remember what shows we've seen at the roll court. Very riveting.
Yeah.
As always, guys. So, Renata, what does roll court website say about Brace?
It says, a plane fell out of the sky and we happened to be on it, which is an important line in the play. A man hijacks a plane. The plane begins to fall, fight or flight. Back on the ground, survivors Ray and Sylvia struggle to reconcile their responses to this life-changing event. As cracks appear in their relationship, one closes themselves off, the other can't focus on anything else. A gripping story of the people we become after the aftermath of catastrophe. So yeah, that's pretty much what it says.
So it was in the upstairs,
which is small
theater. So it was quite obviously claustrophobic. And then when we came in, there's a massive hole in the middle.
Massive hole.
And
they had the safety stanchions all over it because someone really could have fallen in it.
Yeah, it was and there was no health and safety kind of thing. No little neat white edge. No, it was just black. So
yeah, which is why they had to put those ropes up. Yeah,
it's really appreciated.
On the edge, risky.
On the edge. So yeah, and I think where we sat, because we kind of missed a bit of what was happening in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Bit.
Yeah.
I guess because there's like an opening at the end that kind of like...
And there's a ramp. So basically the hole is basically a ramp leading down and up.
Wow.
And it's a very steep one.
Very steep.
Very steep ramp that you have to literally hike up, essentially, that the actors have to hike up.
Were there any railings?
No railings, no nothing.
No. So if you would fall, you would fall.
And it's pretty precarious, but you'll hear say that it's very clever use of the space.
Yeah.
And it was tennis court style, so audience on two sides. And they had little airline screens as well.
Yeah.
On both sides.
So I think it was like quite successfully, I don't know, I felt transported into kind of airporty plane.
And they had windows. They had the airplane windows on both sides. Yeah. To make us feel like we're on a plane.
And the screen. So even though it was very subtle, I think it was very effective.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear how effective it was after, I think, we talk about the show.
The two main characters, Sylvia and Ray, they talk to us immediately, as in they talk to the audience. So this is a type of play where it's a memory play, essentially, kind of in a way. So they're recounting everything that has happened to us directly, making eye contact, talking to us the whole time. And so we basically first get the story of how they met at a party and how she rizzed him up.
Yeah,
she approached him first. She
had some real rizz,
and that it was great from there. And they start a relationship and they get married.
Yeah, and then they go to their honeymoon.
Yeah, nondescript. South Asian island or whatever. I don't think they specify.
I don't remember.
Obviously, Bali or something, you know. Yeah. Obviously, you have to take a plane halfway across the world to get there. Sylvia is terrified of flying. Oh, they run into this little girl who's an unaccompanied minor, and the little girl's dad asks them to kind of look after her while on the plane. Which is kind of nuts.
They are better people than I would ever be. I mean, and she sits, because they hit turbulence.
Yeah, and both the little girl and Sylvia are freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And they're just egging each other on, and they just can't seem to. It's just an endless cycle of I'm freaking out, you're freaking out, we're freaking out, and Ray's trying to get the both of them to like kind of calm down,
to be like, it's okay, it's just turbulence.
Yeah,
but turbulence wasn't the biggest thing.
No, the little girl goes up to go to the bathroom, and then when she's coming back, this man is basically charging from the back of the plane to the cockpit.
And successfully
gets into the cockpit. So everyone comes to realization that
I think the plane goes up.
The plane
starts going up,
nosing up, all the way up.
And then it goes
down. And so everyone, of course, zero gravity, people are flying in the air, things are flying everywhere, people are getting hurt, stuff is throwing,
blood is everywhere.
Them. Somehow the guy gets out of the cockpit. I guess he falls out or whatever, and people try to subdue him. Ray tries to subdue him, but then
he gets
choked out. Yeah. Ray gets choked out. Sylvia sees that is like determined. I guess she snaps out of her fears. It's fight or flight for her, and
because he chokes him out and then goes back to the cockpit basically to finish with the pilot. I guess,
so Sylvia gets into a fight with the guy who's hijacking the plane or whatever,
leaving her husband in the process.
leaving her husband choked out in the back.
Which
I mean, and then she gets the pilot. She thinks he's dead.
Yeah,
at first, but he's not dead. Yeah. He's just unconscious, and so she shakes him up and
slaps him around.
Wake up and fucking save us.
And he does.
Of course, they do make it to their destination eventually.
Yeah. Which, not super romantic because they're all battered.
Not super romantic. Like, what does that do to your libido? Jesus.
And also, we're going to learn about that. It actually works out. Somehow.
Yeah.
They actually have some good
It can either go one or the other direction, I'm sure. Once you go through something like that.
Kissing Lady Death, sometimes can turn you on.
Or off. It's either one or the other. There's no middle ground, I don't think, probably.
So and then I think to make the matters worse, all the people from the plane somehow end up in the same resort where they are.
Yeah, so they're constantly reminded of what happened to them. And people start deeming her the hero. Because she is. She took a chance and she faced her fears and did what she had to do because they would have died for sure if she hadn't have woken that man up.
Absolutely. But then obviously her husband has a problem with it.
Yes, in a way. But the thing is, at the beginning, it's she's the one who's liked, let's calm down, let's move on, we can get through this. And then he's the one who just can't seem to shake it off.
And he plays, and I think that's like so interesting. And throughout the whole play, we like siding with the one character, and then we'll be like, okay, no. And then you keep kind of like, because in the beginning he was literally like acting like a typical man whose woman is doing better than him.
Yeah.
You know, trying
because
to...
she was initially.
Yeah, trying to, but like in general, like she's the hero, he's not. He's just, you know, her husband that she maybe fails to mention.
It happened to me
times.
Too. I went through something too, not just you.
Yeah, and then the whole thing is like, I was there as well, even though you were choked out on the ground.
But that's not your fault either. So he shouldn't treat it. He shouldn't have treated it like that. But he did. When we're in crisis, we act irrationally.
Yeah. So then I think for him, and then she gets to go on this big.
Yeah, they go back home. They come back to the UK. Yeah. Of course, the plane ride is awful because how else are you going to get home? Yeah. No shit. And so,
I mean, could have done Greta Thunberg, but
you could just take a boat and then a train and then a bus and then a train and then a boat and then a train and then a bus and then a train and then a boat and a train
and then the bus
and literally it take you and then a bus. That's how long it would have taken.
Hey,
that's for
they
sure.
Didn't do that though.
So they came back and they're trying to kind of move on with their lives, but they're both still on edge, obviously. And so the news call her and she's asked to do an interview. And in the interview, they ask her about what happened and stuff and yada, yada, yada. But then they reveal.
Yeah. So, and in the beginning, her husband, what's his name? Phil, is that?
Ray.
Wow.
Phil. Where'd you get Phil?
I don't know. Ray was like, but basically, you're not going to mention me. It's the whole thing that she's, getting all this recognition. And he doesn't. And then
she's pretty cool, calm, and collected.
Basically.
She's of course, going through it, but she's going through it rationally. She's like, you're being absolutely unreasonable. Yeah. This is crazy. So she goes to that talk show, I think it was. Yeah, talk show.
And the host was like, just kind of very nonchalantly, but how do you feel like, obviously, now when he's being released?
And this is the first time she's heard this.
The guy who hijacked the plane.
Yeah.
And obviously she learned about this on air.
Literally on live television.
Loses her shit.
And she loses her shit on air.
Absolutely loses her shit.
Because, they caught her off guard. She felt safety in knowing he was in custody. Yeah. She felt that she would be safe and that he wouldn't have to try to come after her or something. But now, this is like a huge turning point in the entire play, the biggest turning point, because now she is...
The tables that have turned, basically.
Basically, these characters switch. So now Ray is the one who's being the more rational one, the one who is trying to get through this and to recover. But she's the one who keeps holding on because she knows he's still out here.
Sylvia starts seeing him like in every person. Which is like, again, cleverly portrayed because
being, paranoid and everything.
Because the actor who played the perpetrator, he played all the other characters as well.
So it was like a money saving method by having one active.
Very clever as well for kind of to depict her fragility, I guess.
Yeah.
So then Ray kind of becomes the anchoring power, I guess, in their relationship and kind of trying to get her out of it. But she gets more and more obsessed with her pain and kind of like...
And it consumes her and it defines her.
Yeah, kind of the fight and kind of the feeling of, I guess, she feels wronged by the system, by everybody, and that kind of feeling consumes her.
The reason he's released is because he is seen as... they accept that he was going through a psychotic, manic episode, and that he thought that there were aliens in the hold of the plane, and he had to do something about it.
Yeah, because if they would have landed, then they would have infested the whole world
or
and
something,
killed everybody.
And so they released him on that. Her husband is like, well, since that happened, he may be locked up in a facility somewhere. But then we find out that he's not locked up in a facility, and the person who tells her is the father of the little girl that they helped, and the other passengers on the plane decide to do a class action lawsuit against the airline because the airline should have been more careful on who to let board on plane.
And she was absolutely like, why she couldn't
Why is the
understand
airline?
that. Yeah,
because it's not the
was
airline.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, and then she got frustrated. And what's interesting as well is kind of like that topic, I guess, how people, or especially like, okay, let's say men in this play, they all kind of believe the guy. And all the, and she and the daughter, we find out, they are all like petrified because like they don't believe him. They think like everybody could say, I had a manic episode.
Right.
You know, because he wasn't successful in his endeavor.
And how do you separate someone from their mental illness? You can't, because it's a part of them. It's a chronic illness like any other physical illness.
And also, how can you tell?
How can you tell?
Because you can be and you can, I guess. So they were making that kind of like argument that who's to say that he wasn't lying?
Right.
And then the other characters, her husband included, being like, no, we can't blame someone who's, you know,
mentally ill. Which is another interesting.
Which is so interesting because you can see both sides.
People should be responsible for their actions, but people should also, we should take their mental illnesses into account for their actions.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it makes a difference. Yeah. But it's also your responsibility as someone who knows that they deal with these things to take care of yourself and take your medication and to try to keep it in check as best as you can.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it's...
And then, kind of like, as well, Sylvia, then she starts feeling alienated, no pun intended, by everyone in her life. She wants to quit her job because like kind of nobody understands, like she can't understand how everyone's going around their lives like normal people when she sees danger and she feels like threatened.
And this guy is out there who could come and attack her.
So basically what she does, because she can't find anyone else to kind of propel her feelings, she goes to the source.
Yeah.
And she meets up with the pilot.
Who she saved.
Yeah. And she finds that he is going through the same thing.
Yeah.
He kind of lives in the same misery like she is. So they find this comfort.
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's up for review at work because of what happened. Because
then she finds out. Well, yeah, because at first she's like, oh my God, you're going through the same thing. We've been so wrong. How everyone's can go about their lives. And then she finds out that he was the one who let that guy in.
Yeah.
On
the plane. Because it is the pilot's decision.
Yeah, because the crew... They felt like there was something off about him.
I think, felt something was off.
They were like, he
asked questions about what type of plane, how many people, where's this entrance, where's this exit, you know.
Reconnaissance,
it seemed like reconnaissance, and that's what terrorists do, you know.
But then he just looked at the man and was like, nah.
He seems okay.
Whatever. He needs you to go, you know.
People are interested in things like that, so he let him on. And then I think Ray and Sylvia basically have another blowout fight. And we get a reenactment of the day of the fight on the plane. Mm-hmm. First of all, amazing choreography and everything.
It was so good.
So good fight choreography. They were working hard on that ramp, and it was pretty dark. Super, super dark. They had to 5, 6, 7, 8 every minute of that choreography.
No, it was great. Honestly, like, I don't remember last time I've seen such a compelling fight choreography in theater. Yeah. Honestly, can't remember.
Yeah.
It was literally on the edge.
And it made you tense up, like your butt cheeks clenching because you're like,
sit so
it's
close.
So dangerous.
Yeah, and you sit so close as well. Like, if they would fall from that ramp, they would fall onto you. So they
blow up and he goes to Greece.
Yeah, because they were basically
the class action lawsuit. They get a free flight from the airline because they won restitution from the airline.
Yeah, even though
they didn't put their name on the lawsuit, they still get a piece of it regardless. Yeah.
So I guess
they were going to Greece.
There were like different things. Obviously, boarding a plane. Also, I guess like getting money from something that she didn't agree with, because obviously she thought it's not airline's fault. Yeah, he manages to be like, let's try to keep on living. Yeah, basically. And she kind of reluctantly agrees, I guess. And then they have to board the plane. So he actually leaves without her.
Yeah, he
and
leaves
I'm
without
like,
her.
thank God.
And you would think this is like the complete end of this relationship,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. But
Like,
I
he
mean,
has the best time.
he said he has the best time. He
Yeah.
meets people. He talks to people.
Yeah.
He says it's good
He's
for him
normal.
because he's talking to people without people knowing what he went through,
Mm-hmm.
and which is a big thing. You know,
Massive.
for someone who's been through something like that, something that's so publicly known like that,
And
your face
everyone
is on
wants
the news,
to speak about it.
and everyone wants to talk about it. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times, those people who go through those things don't want to speak about it. It's not therapeutic for them to speak about it. So they would rather people treat them as a normal person and not pity and coddle them.
Yeah.
And that's what he felt when he went to Greece.
Yeah, so he felt that kind of sense of freedom. And then, he kind of like realized the plane fell out of the sky and I just happened to be on it.
It's nothing I did.
Yeah, it didn't happen.
It's nothing that I caused.
It just happened.
And that's kind of true. Things just happen to people, whether they're good people or bad people.
Yeah.
Things just happen to you.
So they were trying to make this like as a, the big...
A device.
Big line.
Yeah.
The play. But anyway, we'll talk about it at the end. And then he goes back. And somehow in my head, I thought, oh, maybe that's going to be the end of the relationship.
No, it wasn't.
It's not. He still stands by her. And then we see, basically throughout the whole thing, when they are talking to us, she kind of brushes him slightly to think about what happened. But he doesn't want to go there.
Yeah.
And we don't really know why.
Mm-hmm.
And then basically at the very end, we see the whole fight. Basically, we see what happens. And we see how he's on the ground, like choked out. Looks up and he sees his wife basically gouging the eyes out.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Anyway, we'll discuss it, I guess. So it's quite a gruesome picture.
Yeah.
And we realize why he didn't want to kind of go there, because he didn't want to see her that way, I guess.
Because she was in a desperate, primal, violent state, but it was necessary.
Gorgeous. And then after that, he just kind of holds her and just tells her, to repeat the line that he discovered in Greece.
A plane fell out of the sky, and I just happened to be on it. And they repeat it a couple times, and then that's the end of the play.
The end.
Yeah.
So...
Because it's kind of like her finally giving into it, essentially.
Yeah. So, should we go and listen to us straight after the show?
We should.
Yes. Let's fly away. Very appropriate. Don't fall into the ditch.
Yeah. Someone's phone is already down there.
Oh, did they drop the phone? Oh, that is hilarious.
Actually hang out down here because I always get here too late to actually.
I used to come here just to work because it's very good bar. I don't know, it's very good bar to work. It's like Soho Theatre tops the list. Then maybe Young Vic before the expansion of the restaurant was very vibey upstairs.
I'm sure.
But now they just put
restaurant-y.
it's all restaurant-y. So this is probably number 2 now. So brace.
Brace. Again, we came out of it. We came not knowing really anything, and that's good.
Yeah.
I thought it was very interesting.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, the end. Let's.
The end was a bit. Again, that's why I made that face at the end. I was like, "What's happening here?"
No, it was great.
Yeah.
I particularly enjoyed the stagecraft was incredible.
Oh, I loved stagecraft. Oh my god, I really enjoyed that.
The fight scenes were so on the edge, and because the way the set was done, there was literally an edge. If you would fall, you would hurt yourself. And it's a little what do you call it?
Ramp, yeah,
but how do you call it when the planes go up?
Runway,
duh.
And it's like a runway, but also like an aisle of a plane
an aisle. Yeah, so it was multifaceted, and it was so dangerous because you could plummet to your, you could seriously hurt yourself.
And it's not even that deep, but you still hurt yourself.
No, but you could definitely fucking
and that,
hurt yourself.
And I think a part of the blocking, because it was like, oh my God, they're so close to the edge with the blocking.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a metaphor for
exactly.
what's going on.
Exactly.
They're always on the edge. Are they going to fall off or not?
Yeah, it really worked. I think that was brilliant. And I think now rarely we actually see the sets that actually tell a story.
Yes.
Or expand the story, which is it's just kind of usually, okay, it's a set, or it's a screen and camera work.
It's not just about, the actual physical location, but about how it's going to make, how the characters move in it and how it makes us feel when we see the characters interact with the pieces. And having that really high raked.
Really highlighted,
the struggle of going up and down, the difficulty of going up and
Bless
down,
those
the
actors
whole,
and the
very
knees,
physical.
God damn it!
I mean, I saw it with the one guy. He did have knee pads on. I saw, so I could tell because that would mess up your knees real bad.
Yeah, but I think it was very good storytelling. Again, one of those when we talked about Tupperware Ashes, I guess again, exposition didn't feel too expositionally.
And this was fourth wall breaking. They talked to us the entire time.
And they actually to us, which is
they talked to us, looked us in the eye, and then went back into the story, and then in and out. But it was seamless. It was we felt involved in what they were saying.
Yeah, and but the stagecraft when they did the tag bit.
Yeah,
with
that
the
was
soundscape
cool.
and everything, I actually started feeling the pressure.
Yes, because you could feel the vibration of the sound.
It was
how
amazing.
do they do that to be able to mimic that? Because it's damn close to how it actually feels on a plane.
I mean, it's bass, and also I think because we know what it feels like, having that sound, I think it tricks our brains as well.
Yeah, probably.
Because everything, the lighting, the sound, the bass, it was so cleverly done, so elegantly as well. It was simple, but so effective.
Very effective.
And I fucking love that. I know you're a fan of practical sets. I'm a fan of no sets or clever sets, and this is
I just think people are lazy, and that's why they don't do practical sets.
Sustainability is the key.
I mean, but again, this was done very cool. Very cool. Super cool.
Both actors did incredible job.
Yeah, you could feel the tension. You could feel the back and forth in the room.
The guy, I don't remember his name.
He played 3 people.
Yeah, no, the main guy. He was even though he done this is my favorite bit, and this is what I like to work with actors. When the meaning happens when you don't say anything. He done so much silent acting, which was so powerful, and because sometimes we would be so close to him, when he's not in the scene. But you can see every single muscle,
He's completely engaged, even when he's not speaking.
Yeah, he was really a standout. I mean, all of them were great.
Yeah. I think it's this, even from this show, there's a couple other shows that could come out of this. To be honest, this could be a TV series, in my opinion. It could be a mini series of 8 episodes.
It could be a limited
there's so
TV
many
series.
things that came up that I was wow, survivor bias. Wow. How do people feel after surviving something like that?
Also, men not being a center of attention, and how they deal with that when their partner, who happens to be a woman, actually all
Save
gets
the day.
this attention, and he's so I'm not here. Or again, being believing men and not women, because women are saying he's actually not crazy, he's actually a criminal, but all the men in the play or whatever are
mentally ill, leave him alone.
But he said it, so it's so interesting.
And that complexity of how much responsibility should we put on folks with mental illness when they act and have manic episodes? How much responsibility, how much personal responsibility do we put on them? How much do we put it on the illness or on them?
Yeah, because
or on them personally.
Yeah, to be fair, that's the thing.
It's really complicated.
Yeah, to be to be fair, like, yeah, if you're actually in that episode, you're not yourself. There's something else. Like, but then again, yeah, it's a bigger discussion what self is, I guess.
Yes.
And you know, it's like.
But then again, you should be responsible for your own treatment and how you manage your illness, like any other illness.
And I think what display did, again, as you say, there are loads of points. But again, when we talked before so many times when like plays trying to do too much and like telling 16 different thousand stories. This told one story, but it was complex enough. It was looking at things from different perspectives. To being like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm with this character now, and then it flips to be like, oh shit, I'm not.
Yes, because they were, you know, the Sylvia was the one who was ready to move on and wanted to talk about it and move on. Yeah, Ray was the one who wanted to not talk about it anymore or whatever. But then when she found out that Man was still out there, it just flipped, which I think was like the real turning point in the whole thing, because then they switched.
And I think it's, again, like, no one is really, you know, in the right, which is very interesting, and I like. And
everyone is hurt. The fact is, people got hurt. That's the fact. The fact that whose fault is it? People are going to point fingers.
Yeah. Should we briefly discuss an elephant in the room? The ending.
Yeah. The ending kind of threw me off because they kept talking about what she did to him, and I was thinking, based on that last fight scene with the blood, did she gouge his eyes out and make him blind permanently?
I think so.
Maybe that's what she did to him.
Yeah, but it wasn't like
clear
at all. Was it just possibly?
I was like, I think she gouged his eyes out and made him blind permanently.
Which was like, I think it was, fighting scenes were incredible, but I think for this one, if that was the thing, if that's why he doesn't want to remember that because he saw her in that kind of like violent mode, then make it more violent, then make it more blood if she did. And then would have been interesting.
Maybe she could permanently injure him forever.
If the attacker starts to persecute her. Actually it flips. Imagine like, you actually blinded me for life. But that's a different thing. I feel like they're trying to kind of also as well
make an open ending, so
not even open ending. I think they wanted to make that classic like rom-com ending. It's all good. Just say the phrase, and we're gonna be kind of.
I mean,
fine.
I thought they were gonna break up at the end, but
I thought they'd broken up when he went to Athens and had.
Oh yeah, to be honest, I don't know why they would come back after that one.
I don't know why he stayed with her. Men don't do that. Also, again, this is like unrealistic expectations for a relationship. Men don't do that. If you're like ill, if you're mentally unstable, they would be like, bye bitch, bye.
Yeah. God forbid you have cancer, they're out.
Oh yeah.
They give pamphlets. Doctors and nurses give out pamphlets to women when they get diagnosed with some life-changing illness and say, your husband may leave you.
And this is even worse. Like, this is like, you know, just like darkness.
And it's something they both went through.
Yeah.
It's something they both went through, and because they both are going through it, they both see it in different ways, which makes it even harder.
We're not saying these good men don't exist. No. Of course. Hashtag not all men, but unrealistic. But you know, in theatre you have to suspend your disbelief.
You have to suspend disbelief, that's correct.
But yeah.
Nice and short. They said 70 minutes, and it was 70 minutes on the dot, people.
Yeah. Honestly, it was like...
Let's write some good stories that are 70 minutes. Let's do it.
And that's the thing. And you can achieve that. You know, you can achieve that in... Oh my God, no, the actors are coming in here, so it's awkward that we actually talking. Whatever. It's our podcast and nobody's listening. So it's important for people to know. Yeah, the ending, I feel they try to do like... slightly, you know, rom-com-y, you know,
we're in this together.
Let's
move on
and
together.
Then, I just said the phrase that I'm fine, I'm mentally healed.
But in reality, it's gonna come up again. Yeah, they've never completely squashed it or completely moved on from it, and you don't really. No. Do you ever?
I wouldn't maybe that. Because I probably would have ended it. There was like a bit when I was like, that's probably the end. When he actually went to Athens by himself and had a good time. It was kind of like ending, and I don't know, something else. I don't know. The end was too abrupt and kind of like,
Yeah, question mark? That's what I felt. That's why I made that face.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a good play.
Very strong play. So that's why kind of like, expected more from the end, definitely.
And I guess we'll talk about it more in the studio, details and stuff.
So, because everyone involved are coming into the bar now, so it's a bit awkward, guys. Back to the studio. So yeah, yet another signature. We are just haters, but we sometimes are lovers.
Yeah, that's two likes in a row, is it? I guess it is.
I think so. Listen, we're gonna try to get those comps. If we only hate.
Look, we're being fair, not being complete haters.
We never set out to hate. It just happens to us. The plane fell out of the sky,
and we just happen to be on it.
Listen, bad plays happen, and it has nothing to do with us being good or bad people. If we learned anything from Praise,
right?
So yeah, great show. I think it's like one of those shows that everything worked together and everything made sense. And there was no excess. There was nothing there that were not supposed to be there.
And there was nothing repetitive.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these plays I feel like lately we've seen have been circling back and rehashing the same dialogue in different ways over and over again without moving on.
Yeah. Everything was used, and as we mentioned as well, it's like...
And it's one act. Yeah. It was 70 minutes.
As promised.
As promised.
Bush Theatre, we're looking at you. But yeah, and I think, again, weirdly, one of the rare occasions when actors were actually talking to us when they trying to do no for wall plays, because that doesn't really happen often.
They forget about us halfway through.
Exactly. Or like, you have this glazed over look. You look at me, but you're not looking at me.
You're looking just through me.
Mid-distance, which was very successful.
They kept talking to us from start to finish. So, and that's how you're supposed to do it, folks. If you're going to do that device, if you're going to use it, stick with it from beginning to end. Don't abandon it halfway through.
And if you can't look at people's eyes and interact with the audience, don't do the, no for wall. Just do the regular checkup. Just, if you do it. So really, especially like the actor, the Phil Dunster, that's his name. He was great because like he was like, I don't know, the way blocking ended up, he was like close to us a lot of times when he was like not talking, but like he was fully there, like. You can see the emotion because again we were so close. He was actually like acting, all the time. He was working all the time, which like supposed to be a thing, but
and like because he was on stage all the time. Some people, when they're on stage all the time,
they're not on stage.
They're not on stage all the time, meaning they're not present in the moment. And he stayed with us the whole time, even if he wasn't speaking.
No, he was there. Like honestly, like we felt engaged throughout.
It was very fast paced, but you could. It was still simple enough to be able to not get confused.
Great. Soundscape, fantastic. Set, clever.
Yes,
great.
Danger, sensory effects.
Great. I mean, one thing that I could hate on was the end. I understand what they were trying to do with the poetic. Let's go to the sunset.
An acceptance.
Yes. But it felt...
surrender.
Yeah, but it didn't feel... And I guess because like where we literally met her in like the kind of the peak of her, distress and all that. And then we were just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm fine now. Because I said like a very like sparkly line.
Yeah, it could have been something that was even more... unclear. It could have been something that was more vague to kind of end it, because the whole time it was a lot of back and forth. It didn't want to tell you what to think, because they kept presenting us with so many different viewpoints,
and very successfully.
And I think the ending could have been that. Still like kept through with that.
Could be like, is this relationship like broken beyond repair, or are we trying to still kind of be together? Or something,
or vague.
That's don't what even tell me. Give us options
for us to think about when we leave. How do I think it ended?
So that's what I'm saying. So I felt like, even though it was open ended in the way like we don't know how it ended, but it kind of like
was it ended with her walking with acceptance.
Walking into the sunset, which was a bit. It felt abrupt. It felt unearned for me. Again. It didn't destroy my experience. I still really enjoy it. But like, if there's something to work on, I think that would be it. because I think it's a very successful play. I see the potential of it transferring to the West End.
But like theater, though, I think it benefits so greatly for a small space, though.
I know, but the thing is, I think it has the potential.
Or they could put it on stage, on a stage on the West End. They
love these like two-handers now, because like look at Shifters, tiny two-hander, did very well in the West End. Red Bitch, free-hander, did very well in the West End, and they both were for intimate spaces. But I don't know. That's my prediction.
It could go in Soho Place.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is the worst theater there is. But
we have our stage is fine. The stage is actually okay.
The stage is for this.
And it would be interesting because, like, especially for the sides that if you above them, that would be quite an interesting
to see the pit.
Yeah. So I don't know. These are my predictions, but we'll see.
Or even the bridge, but bridge is off West End. Anyway.
Yeah, but still, I feel like it has the potential. Especially because it was in such a small space, which like makes sense. Why? That's why it was like quite, I think,
and it's
intentional.
Cheap. 3 people, minimal set, minimal everything.
That's what I'm saying.
No props.
In the cost of living crisis, if
going back to Grotowski, poor theater.
I mean, we are all poor in theater, so we never left Grotowski. That's what I'm saying. But yeah. So very successful. Enjoyed it. Do more of this, please.
Yes. It's interesting. It's compelling, and they don't try to give us the answers. They make the audience kind of come up with their own idea of what they think is the right way to react to something like this, and it asks, interesting questions about how do we react in tragedy. How do we deal with people who have mental illnesses, who do things that harm people as a result? Who's responsible when bad things happen? Like, is it the airline, really? Or is it the pilot for letting him on? Or is it even before that, healthcare professionals not monitoring their patient? Or is it his fault for not, it's all like, who's to blame here?
Who's to blame? Do we even need to? But that's the thing. And again, it's like,
and people always need people need to know who to blame. They need it.
Yeah, and this is where the
and the only thing that they could do was the airline. That's the only way they could see it.
Was because like somehow Ray.
That's her husband.
Yeah, Ray managed by the end not to blame anyone, and be like shit happens.
Yeah, exactly.
For the most people, they can't accept that obviously, and they try to.
They need a clear answer.
But yeah, so it was very successful. I think it asked different questions that...
which you could have had a couple other plays out of this, Even though it had a lot of ideas.
I think it
had a lot of ideas, but it still completed all those ideas. But there's ideas in it that you could make a whole...
No, of course.
Another play
But I think everything was in its place.
Yeah.
They were not overdoing it.
No, they weren't. They weren't.
Yeah, no. Cool.
I think that's it.
Look at us.
Unfortunately, it ends today.
So by the time
it may be back.
By the time this comes out, you're not going to be able to see it. That's on us by being busy beavers. But if my prediction is correct, you might be able to see it.
It may come back. It may come back.
I think it should. It's like, yeah. Anywho.
All right, well, that was the end of We're Just Haters, but it wasn't We're Just Haters. We really enjoyed this.
I know. But listen, you can't know hate if you can't feel love.
Oh.
And we need
bars.
Wow. And we need more love. And Jesus Christ, we need love.
Yeah.
Well, see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.